you. The next question, not surprisingly from the Providence Community Library, revolves around library funding. Let's start with Christopher Young. The mayor's proposed budget restores library funding to 2010 levels. While this is appreciated, of the 16 major New England cities, Providence remains at the very bottom in terms of the percentage of library costs funded by the city. What would you do to bring Providence into line with our peer cities and ensure that libraries receive adequate funding on a sustainable, and I think they emphasize sustainable for good reasons, basis? So let's start, Mr. Young, with you.
Well, obviously, I support funding the library system. We use the libraries all the time, Kara and I, and it's the best. I think it's a wonderful system, and it provides a real necessity to the public for higher education purposes. But the truth is that when you have like a 38 Studios deal where $100 million is being stolen from the state by a representative from this district, some people allegedly say, and then also you have the Providence Economic Development Partnership, where former members of our state government have misappropriated funds, given loans out to their friends. Where is all the money going? The money is all going to connected people. Now, to say that you're not connected to be on the Providence Water Board is a completely humorous statement to me. You have to be extremely connected to be on the Providence Water Board. And to get a housing court appointment like Angel Tavares did.
Mr. Young, please, in fairness to the Providence Community Library.
The misappropriation of funds, the loss of revenue for the city, and funding for the public library system. Money is disappearing. Taxes are going up. There are no jobs. There's potholes everywhere. There's gang violence, guns everywhere, and nothing is being done. And you're going to put the same people in office again that will raise your taxes and not fix any of your problems. I hope you can hear me, because my voice will not be heard past this meeting here today. The Journal won't say what I say, okay? But I keep running for you.
Thank you. Mr. Smiley, the question concerns the funding for the library system.
I got it. Our libraries are critical community assets that need steady and predictable funding. The first thing that I would do is work tooth and nail to change the statewide funding formula for libraries. It is unfair that a library in Barrington actually gets more state funding than a library in Central Falls because of the way the state provides library aid. And as someone who used to lobby on behalf of the city of Providence at the State House, if anyone at this table knows how to get a bill passed at the State House, it's me, and I will work tirelessly to make sure that our libraries are funded in recognition to the populations they serve, which means that the PCL would receive more funding. I will also commit to predictable funding for the library. I know one of the hardest things for any nonprofit, not the least the library, is to have these peaks and valleys of funding from the city where you then need to go scramble or think about cutting services. And then finally, I will provide and have an opportunity for dialogue around new services where we can partner together, because I know that the library is more than just checking out books. It gives GED classes, and it provides for other extended learning opportunities for job training. There are great ways for us to partner with the library as new revenue sources for you and as new ways to deliver city services for us.
Thank you. Mr. Adrain, same question.
Okay, so let's start with a fundamental belief on this one. My fundamental belief is that the libraries are among our most effective and efficient vehicles for getting work done for adults and children in our community. So if we start with that fundamental belief and we think about where do we want to invest a dollar to have good community happen, this seems like a pretty darn good place to invest a dollar. So it's all about the creativity around finding more dollars, right? And what I would do, I agree with Brett, I would leverage the state and the state funding formula, but I would be very, very aggressive in finding more philanthropy, in finding more foundation resources, in bringing corporate entities into the mix, in bringing the many, many folks, frankly, that I'm connected with around the country and around the world who are very, very active philanthropists in education and libraries to come look at what we're doing and come see how much we're getting done with our work. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Solomon.
First of all, when the libraries were threatened with being closed down years ago, I took a side and I took a stand. I took a stand with the community libraries because I knew the importance of having libraries in our community. And we took that stance, and because we took that stance, we were able to keep 9 branches open. And I'm happy to say that this year that we've got back to the 210 level, but we need to do more. Our libraries are an important part of our neighborhood. They don't only serve as libraries, they serve as safe havens, they serve as computer labs, they serve as places where we can have neighborhood meetings, and they enhance our neighborhood. This is what it's about. This is what makes our neighborhood. And I'll continue to lead the fight to make sure that our libraries are fully funded and funded the way they need to be funded, because I know how important that is for our neighborhoods.
Thank you. Mr. Alorza?
So, I believe that libraries are the great equalizers in our society. Whether you're rich or poor, black or white, this side of the city or the other side of the city, you have access to lifelong learning within a library. And I agree with the other panelists. It's not just about learning, it's about a safe haven. It's about community meeting space. As I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there's Zumba here in the library, and you can bring your child. Libraries are about so much more than what they've traditionally been thought to provide. So that's the perspective I bring. And I remember about a year or two ago, a good friend of mine, the mayor of Central Falls, James Diosa, came to me, and he wanted me to do some research to figure out how we can provide more resources for the library in Central Falls. It was in the midst of their bankruptcy proceedings, and they were threatened with budget shortfalls. I sat with Mayor Diosa, we met with the governor, we lobbied for more state funding, and what I admire so much about what they did in Central Falls is that the way that they fundamentally saved their libraries was by engaging the entire community. Volunteers came in and they extended the hours at the library. They did programming at the library and brought in children. Now, this is how we can preserve the libraries going forward, just as it is with schools, just as it is with everything else. It's by community engagement.
Thank you. Dr. Harrop?
An excellent question to go back to my initial opening statement, which is the difficult conversation we have to have about where our limited resources are going to go in the next 4 years. Libraries are essential to the community. They're essential for learning, they're essential for children, they're essential for learning for adults. But the difficulty is where are we going to find the money for the libraries? Where are we going to find the money for the potholes? Where are we going to find the money to pay for the bonds for the $250 million in schools to be rebuilt? Where are we going to find the money to fund the pension fund at this point, which $1.6 billion if you include the benefits fund as well? I think that the city and the mayor should certainly promise predictable funding for the libraries. I think they should fund it for a longer period of time than 1 year and tell them that as a business we can promise over the next 3 to 4 years this level of funding. That will certainly help them in their budgeting and their funding. I think the libraries are one place, certainly not the potholes or the pensions, we are going to be able to bring in outside resources and foundations, and where the mayor can serve is a bully pulpit to try to get private donations to continue to fund libraries and to expand services.
Thank you.